Heading into Atlanta this weekend, it means that we are jumping into the second half of the NASCAR Cup Series season. So far, there are 18 races down, 18 races remaining. So heading into this weekend, let's look back and see who's been doing well, good, average, and below average. While there might not be anyone who is failing per se just yet because everyone has a shot at the playoffs, there are drivers who are doing worse or better than we expected halfway into the first season of the next-gen car. So what we're going to do today is look at four groups. The drivers who I think have an A, those with a B, a C, and Ds. So let's get right into it. So far, there are 5 drivers, I think, who have scored an A this year. And first, starting off with that is Ross Chastain. While Chastain is someone we were all really surprised with for becoming an elite driver, many thought that he would fall off as we got into the summer months, but so far that hasn't been the case. His 2 wins are still very impressive, but so are his 9 top 5s and 12 top 10s. He's also led a ton of laps, over 350, and right now the eye test is showing him as one of the fastest guys out there no matter where they go. So a solid A for Chastain is warranted. So 2 is for the regular season points leader at the moment, Chase Elliott. Elliott also has 2 wins, and while he only has 5 top 5s, his 12 top 10s show that he has great consistency. He's led 549 laps this year, and on top of that, it looks like he's getting faster as the year goes on. Again, a solid A for Elliott is warranted. So too is for the only winless driver that I think has scored an A so far this year, and that is Ryan Blaney. While he doesn't have as many top 5s or top 10s as some of the other guys, he has still been up there and been able to turn bad runs like what he had going on in Nashville into good runs like where he got the finish in the top 5 in that race. If he's able to catch a few breaks here or there, that plus 112 point gap will turn into an in sign because he'll probably get a win or 2 before the regular season is out. Next up is Kyle Larson. Larson has definitely not been as good as his stellar self was last year, but at the same time, he is still one of the best drivers out there. His win so far this year is definitely a mark down from 2021, but he has 8 top 5s and 10 top 10s. He's one of only 6 drivers to have double-digit top 10s on the year. He's led tons of laps, and he's had more DNFs this year that have really marked down just how good he's been. He may not be the most dominant guy out there, but he has had a solid A- season so far. And then same with the other Kyle. Kyle Busch has seemed a little off this year, but he still has 11 top 10s. He's still one of the 5 best drivers out there, and he still leads tons of laps. The only problem right now might be the driver himself, as we don't know whether or not he could have a temper tantrum like the end of the Nashville race, have issues like the end of the Road America race, or be a top 5 or top 10 car like many other races. Next up are the 11 drivers who have scored a B, whether that be plus, normal, or minus this year. First off is Kevin Harvick. Harvick gets a B+ on the year. While not getting a win and currently sitting outside of the playoffs, his 4 top 5s and 10 top 10s is much better than any of his teammates out there by a wide margin. Though his big detriment is that he hasn't led laps, which has not given him the opportunity to go after wins as much. Harvick is one of the best drivers out there. His season is getting overlooked because of the playoff format, and right now it is pretty much a crime, in my opinion, that he is not in the playoffs. So a B+ right now is something I think he's earned. Christopher Bell has gotten a B this year. He has pretty much the same stat line with Harvick, except that he's led more laps and, well, he's the guy who's in the playoffs ahead of Harvick. But at the same time, Bell has been very inconsistent at tracks where you'd think he would do well, especially road courses. If Christopher Bell is to make the playoffs and get better than a B on the season, he's going to need to get more top 5s, and he's going to just need to be more consistent overall. Same goes for Joey Logano. Logano has 2 wins this year, but you wouldn't think it based on how he's run compared to a lot of the other guys around him. Again, he's not been overly inconsistent, just not consistent enough. Now, in a completely different way, Michael McDowell also has a B this season. You see, McDowell is going with Front Row Motorsports, which is not a good car whatsoever and a good team, but at the same time, He's got 7 top 10s on the year, which matches guys like Tyler Reddick and Martin Truex Jr. His 1 top 5 needs to be improved upon if he's to get any run whatsoever possible at the playoffs, but the fact that he's been doing so well with this team earns a B. This has been an above average season, and if he's going to get a few more top 5s or even a win, this could be an A season. Now, another driver who's had a B season so far has been Alex Bowman. Bowman started the year pretty consistently, and while he has not been bad per se, he has not been the most consistent guy out there like many would like to say. He has a win, but he only has 3 top 5s, and he's finished in the top 10 in half the races this year. You can tell that he's not running up front that much, and that's with the 3 top 5s, but you can also tell by the fact that he's only led 18 laps this season. If Bowman is to become a championship contender and take that next step, he needs to finish in the top 5 more, and he needs to lead a lot more laps. Now going down to the numerous drivers with a B-, starting off with the Daytona 500 winner Austin Cindric. Cindric has been pretty much what a rookie should be. Someone who's going out there, just making the best out of runs, and at the end of the day is trying to really get more consistency under him. He only has 2 top 5s this year and 5 top 10s, but for being a rookie, he has done a lot better than I think many of us would think he would do. So a B- is what he's gotten. Tyler Reddick right now is another driver who I think has had a B-, just barely an above average year. Reddick has been maddeningly inconsistent. With 7 top 10s this year, you can tell that the 265 laps led is something that has come from a fast car with bad luck or mistakes. He has 5 top 5s this year as well, which puts him pretty high up there in the numbers with that, but he's gonna need to get more consistent as well if he's to take the next step. Eric Almirola also gets a B-. He started out the year pretty hot, but since then has kind of fallen off. He only has 2 top 5s this year and 5 top 10s, and his 6 laps led shows that many of those has been just kind of getting lucky that attrition has helped, or getting faster as the day goes on, but not fast enough. He's currently 47 points outside of the playoffs, and is probably going to need a win to get in, similar to last year, but he's been a lot better than last year, so a B- is warranted. Martin Truex Jr., in my opinion, also gets a B-. He is in the playoffs by plus 61, but he has definitely not performed like a driver who you'd think would be a lock like many of us thought last year. He has 2 top 5s right now, which is pretty subpar, honestly, for a JGR driver of his caliber, and his 7 top 10 shows that he has just not been consistent in any way. Though leading over 250 laps has shown that maybe some of it has to do with bad luck and just bad calls. So Truex gets a B-. Justin Haley also gets a B-, and it's because much of the reason that he's lower in points than he probably should be is bad luck. While only having 1 top 5 and 1 top 10, his crew has not done him any favors, and the driver has really had to make up for a lot of that. Plus, this is colleague's first year in Cup, and unlike the other team, he's not going after trophies. So a B- is still pretty warranted for him. He's gotten a lot faster in the last 9 races compared to the first 9. So too is Daniel Suarez. Suarez has 4 top 5s and 6 top 10s and has led a lot of laps as well, and he finally got that first win at Sonoma. Because of getting that win, the season is definitely above average, but again, not by much. He needs to get much more consistent for me, or pretty much anyone, to have to trust him past the round of 16. Now, let's look at the 8 drivers who have been just pretty average this year. Eric Jones is one that gets a C+. Jones has shown speed this year, but because of luck, crew issues, or just starting to lack speed in the summer months, he has not gotten the finishes that many think he deserves. But at the same time, like I said, he's gotten kind of slower into the summer compared to the way he was earlier in the season, which might just be the fact that other teams are figuring out faster than Petty GMS is with the next-gen car. So a C+ right now is good. He has been better than a normal average driver, but not by much. So too goes the same with Kurt Busch. Busch, yes, has his win this year, which I think puts him up there, but Busch has been off compared to the last couple years. He has 5 top 5s and 7 top 10s. He's led a lot of laps. He's in the playoffs at the moment as we speak, but there's just something a little bit off about him in 23-11 overall. So a C+ for Kurt Busch. Austin Dillon this year has been just pretty average. because the field is a little more stacked than last year and the years before that, he has seemed a bit off, but this is pretty much how Austin Dillon runs every year, so it's warranted that he gets a C. It's an average year for him. Chase Briscoe has also had an average year. While leading a lot of laps at Gateway and Phoenix, that's pretty much all she wrote when it comes to competitive runs so far this year. He has 3 top 5s and 4 top 10s, and has sort of been just a mid-pack driver. Chris Buescher is an interesting one. Buescher has been running relatively well for RFK equipment, but because of missing a race due to COVID, the season is very incomplete. And because of that incomplete race, I think he gets a C. He's shown more speed like at the road courses, but he needs to show more than that if he's to be at all taken seriously about making the playoffs. William Byron is another one who needs to get more consistency. Yes, I know he has had bad luck. I know he has 2 wins. I know he's led more laps than anyone else this season, but Byron, for being in a Hendrick car, has been subpar. It's an average season right now, but this one is very close to being a C- or even D+ season if he doesn't get his act together. Ty Dillon also has a C on the season. With only 1 top 10, this is about what we all expected from him. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has upped his season, though, to a C. He has 5 top 10s and a top 5 this year and led 45 laps, which is much better than the first 9 races, which made him seem like almost a Rick Ware car out there. So Stenhouse has gotten up to a C, and if he's able to get a few more top 10s, might even get up to a B-level season, even if he doesn't make the playoffs. And now we go to the 7 most disappointing drivers this year, those who get a D on the year. With a D+, there's Denny Hamlin. He has 2 wins, yes, and he's led almost 300 laps, but Hamlin has had probably the worst season of his career thus far. He has top 5s, he has top 10s, but he has been terribly inconsistent. He's had really bad luck, sometimes of his own doing, and he just cannot get anything strung together this year. It's a D+ because of the multiple wins, but if he doesn't get those wins, it's a straight up F of a season. Bubba Wallace also gets a D+. Yeah, he's shown some speed. Yes, he's looked better in the summer months and went from being a 20th place car to about a 13th to 15th place car, but the driver right now is probably the biggest detriment for that team as they've had a crew change. Bubba Wallace's headspace needs to get cleared out if he's to make any run whatsoever at the playoffs. Even if he wins, he's going to probably be the lowest guy with a win this year and may not even be insured in the playoffs if there's more than 15 or 16 winners. So Bubba Wallace this year gets a D+, not a D because they have shown better speed and the driver has been better this year, but it's not by much. With a D is Brad Keselowski. Now, I know a lot of it has to do with the penalty, but he has been outperformed at RFK. He only has 2 top 10s this year, and his 73 laps led have been primarily at super speedway-style tracks. Keselowski has been a shell of his former self this year, and while it can be attributed to being the first year, and I'll give him that, it's not really that good. A D is what he gets. So too is with Corey LaJoie. He has a top 5, but that was at Atlanta, and other than that, he has been a complete no-show, which is much more disappointing than I think anyone would really have predicted this year. Many thought that Corey LaJoie would be sort of similar to what Petty GMS is this year with Ty Dillon, a driver who can be in the top 15 a lot and maybe get a top 10 every now and then. But LaJoie with Spire has almost been worse this year, so he gets a D. Also, Harrison Burton gets a D. Because while they had straight up F speed earlier in the year, he has seemingly stayed out of more trouble lately, and while he hasn't got any top 10s on the year, he also has kind of improved how he's been this year. And I can say the same about Todd Gilliland. He also gets a D. But the most disappointing driver this year with equipment, with everything all put together, and with the stat line is Cole Custer, who I think gets a D-. You don't get an F because the playoffs haven't started yet, but he's pretty much as close as you can get. But these are only my thoughts. Now I want to hear from you. What grades would you give drivers this season? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content in the last half of the season. And of all my channel members, thank you so much for your continued support. So until next time, have a good one.